And this happens to be our salute to the armed forces from a show from a few years ago.
Okay.
For members and veterans of the United States Coast Guard and the Coast Guard Reserve, stand and be recognized.
Wow, that's wonderful. Very stirring.
It is. It really is great. And I know folks who come to this year's show will certainly enjoy it. This year's show will be at the Gallery Theater on Saturday evening, June the 11th at 7:30. And tickets are available at the Gallery box office at 503-472-2227. 472-2227. And this year is the 15th and final. As I said earlier, there comes a time when you feel you've accomplished everything that you wanted to do with the show, and Joyce has done that. And like Oprah, she wants to move on.
Sure, of course.
And but she's always chosen an excellent writer-director to do each of the shows. And Mark Williams has done a couple of wonderful shows, and so she chose Mark to do the last show. And Mark, why don't you tell us about it?
Well, the other shows have been mostly in the 1940s. Last year's show, we were in the 1960s. We wanted to do something for the Vietnam guys, because when they were fighting in Vietnam, there's a lot of unrest at home. And when they came home, they weren't appreciated. And so and that journey was started 2 years ago when someone told me, Mark, no one ever does anything for Vietnam guys. And I thought, well, let's do that. And that was a very successful show. With this year, since it's the last show, what we're going to do is we're going to start in the 1980s with Johnny Carson and Ed McMahon. Chris Benham and Adam Ewing are going to be our MCs. And
That'll be fun.
They'll be fun. And then we're going to go back to the 1940s. Then we're going to go to the 1950s, the 1960s, 70s. We're going to end up in the 80s. And to tie it together is that we're going to have Carl Klooster from the News Register come over and read the news of the decade.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah. Well, it was fun. We were going to do that with Carl, have him do a news spot last year, but we were running over time, so he got cut. And so I promised him, I said, I'll tell you what, we're going to put you in a spot that we can't cut you out. And so he agreed to do that. And Carl's a great trooper. He's done some other stuff for us, so we're going to be glad to have him. And we're going to have, for music groups, first time we're going to have is Vintage Voices, directed by Dana Libanati. And we're excited about them coming. And we're also excited about a group from Dayton called the Daytones, and they're going to come and do the 1940s.
Okay.
So we're going to feature a lot of stuff, plus the Frank Messina Band. And who else am I leaving out?
Well, let's see. Lydia is going to be singing somewhere out there. Lydia Dolans.
Lydia Dolans who was Annie in last Christmas's Annie performance.
Right.
She's lights out, and she's going to be doing Somewhere Out There. And we also have the Ericksons.
Yep.
Dave and Laura Erickson are going to be singing, and we practiced with Laura last week, and she brought the house down. That was just a practice, so we're very excited about what's
love
going to
her
happen.
voice.
Oh, her and Dave is like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
They're really, really good.
Jenny.
Oh yeah, and Jenny Ravier, who is actually an ER nurse over here at the hospital, she's going to be singing "Rock Around the Clock."
Oh, how fun.
Yeah, and she has lights out voice too.
Yeah, she's starred in several shows at Gallery. She's wonderful.
Yeah.
You know, it's so interesting because when you do these, they're always so popular.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, for years, the variety show was such a popular format. And then it just kind of like died as a format. So what happened?
Well, you know, television executives decide to move in different directions also. And after Ed Sullivan left the air and Saturday Night at the Palace and various things did their run, it was like Westerns. For a long time we were into Westerns. Then we were into detective shows. Now we're into reality shows.
Apparently.
And, you know, and talk shows just kind of keep going.
Right.
And so, you know, but they all run their course and things change. And so we feel we have had a really good run with the fundraisers at Gallery Theater, and so it's our time to let someone else do something.
I love it. And so, Mark, do you have a special tribute plan to Joyce?
I can't tell you with Frank right here, but we are going to honor Frank and Joyce for their work at Gallery.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a tremendous, contribution and such a lot of effort. You know, I mean, probably nobody really realizes. You do, obviously, you live with her, but how much, you know, how much really goes into that? Trying to find talent and trying to scout things out and make sure it comes out just right and coordinate with the writers and managing all the people.
Joyce is an excellent producer. She says, "Who do you need? What do you need?" And she has it done. And so all I have to do is focus on writing the show and talking with the actors, actresses, music groups, and saying, would you like to do this? So it's a showcase. We try to make it a showcase of gallery talent.
Sure.
So so the people that like Lydia is a good example. She was dynamite as Annie.
She really was.
And so that name is going to bring some people in.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. Joyce likes to go to all the gallery shows and to keep in touch with what all the latest talent is. Because each year we do the show on a Saturday night, and by Monday she's starting to talk about what she wants to do for the next year. And it really takes a lot of thought and a lot of time to put it together. And as time goes on through the summer months and all, we're talking about who we would like to have in the next show, and then we see people here and there, or we see them after a show at Gallery and say, would you like to do the USO show this coming June? And you know, a lot of people enjoy doing it.
Right.
So yeah, she's made a Herculean effort to make this a successful show, and she deserves all the credit that she gets.
Absolutely.
Good stuff.
Yeah. It's really great. So, what are some of the tunes we're doing this year?
Well, we're gonna plug in a lot of more recent tunes. We're gonna do the Johnny Carson theme, which is recognizable to a lot of us of our generations and other generations. And of course, we're gonna do Rock Around the Clock. We're gonna do American Bandstand.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah, oh, it's fun. The band really likes it. We're gonna do in the 1960s. We're gonna do. From Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, the cocktail party where people say funny things and the band plays.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Good, okay.
Yeah, so you get a lot of that stuff. We're doing Hawaii Five-0.
Oh, that'll be great.
And so we always said Somewhere Out There. We're doing the Erickson piece.
Fly Me to the
Moon.
Great,
Frank Sinatra.
Sinatra. And
I
it's
love
the
that
Sinatra
song.
arrangement, the exact same arrangement.
I love that.
We got the Sinatra arrangement.
Perfect.
For it.
Okay, good.
And he has a great voice. He's starting a number of things at Gallery. Well, he's wonderful. Of course, his wife is so talented, too.
Right. And Laura's doing Embraceable You. And that's
that'll be great.
Oh, it's just like butter. It's just like butter.
Wow.
And that's about it.
It'll be a great show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we're also doing Hill Street Blues.
Yeah, Salute to Hill Street. That was a great series, and their theme is a nice light jazz piece, and you didn't really get to hear that much of it when you watched the show, but it really is a very nice composition. So we're going to feature the band playing it.
So, you know, it's interesting because when you think about a USO or Salute to the Military, the whole thing that, I mean, in the past several decades anyway, military people, no matter where they're actually posted in the world, with satellite, internet, and things, they can keep up with pop culture and what's happening at home.
That's right.
Much more easily than way back in the day.
And the USO is still a very active part of entertainment for our military. I mean, they're in Afghanistan, they're in Iraq, and they send lots of stars to wherever our troops happen to be, whether they are troops that are fighting in a war or whether they happen to be stationed someplace. So that I know I did USO shows many years ago, and traveling for them, I was in Alaska, I was in Okinawa, I was in Korea, I was in Guam. You know, we went all over the place, and so the USO has done wonderful work since their inception in World War II.
Well, I would really like to thank you two today for being here, and I know you've got a clip sort of to take us out, so I'll let you introduce that.
Bob Hope did many of these shows that were shown on NBC, and he always ended with thanks for the memory. And so we'd like to close with that. We will close our show with that also.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you.
Our pleasure.